we speak, in coordination with allies and partners, at this prospect of banning oil imports.
So it's interesting you added the in coordination. We will not do this unilaterally. The United States is not going to do this unilaterally.
A hallmark of everything we've done to date has been this coordination with allies and partners. We are much more effective across the board when we're doing things together in as close a coordination as possible.
This morning, natural gas prices soared to more than $4 a gallon, the highest level since 2008, as Russia's war on Ukraine begins to create fear about the world's crude oil supply. President Biden has been resisting bipartisan calls to ban imports of Russian oil. Meanwhile, the White House and its NATO allies are instituting a new round of sanctions targeting Russian oligarchs who are some of Putin's biggest allies. European governments are already seizing millions of dollars in assets in the form of luxury properties and super yachts. Joining me now, my colleague at the Washington Post editorial board, editorial writer and columnist Heather Long. Heather, thank you for coming to the Sunday show. I've got three areas of sanctions I want to talk to you about. The first one being oil and gas. The administration says that the economy is strong enough to withstand the impact of a ban on Russian oil. And while the Biden administration hasn't made it official, you've tweeted that the U.S. has already basically stopped buying Russian oil. Talk more about that.
Yeah, obviously we are seeing these oil prices, the gas prices at the pump are already over $4 a gallon today, so people are feeling it. It's up 40 cents in the last week. The reality here is the United States could fairly easily cut itself off from Russian oil. We only import about 5 to 7% a year from Russia. Most of that is going to Hawaii and California. The largest refinery, the only refinery in Hawaii, announced this week that they are no longer accepting crude oil imports from Russia. So they have basically started this process of cutting the United States off from Russian oil and gas. But the big problem here is just what the Secretary of State Blinken was talking about. Europe is a totally different story. Yes, the U.S. would feel some pain from doing this, but Europe is getting 40% of their energy from Russia. And so if they cut off Russian oil and gas and coal, Russia's also their largest coal supplier, Europe's really looking at recession. They're looking at huge high prices and a serious hurt to their economy.
Heather, real quickly, are the Europeans even talking about oil and gas sanctions, going along with them in the way that Secretary Blinken talked about?
They're starting to. This is obviously an active discussion that's going on, but it would be so much more pain for their economy than even what we're seeing in the United States that it's really difficult. I've seen a lot of calls for the European Union, for people to turn down their thermostats. How about we import more from Algeria or Iran or Saudi Arabia? And these are all would have to be in the mix, but it still would not make up for that supply that they're currently getting from Russia. So that means it won't just be turning down the thermostat. They would probably have to do rolling closures of factories and truly looking at that horrible stagflation type of economy with no growth or recession and super high prices.
Right. All right, we've got 90 seconds, and I want to squeeze these two in. Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of Great Britain, said today in an op-ed at the Times that one of the things he thinks is that the Russian bank should be removed from SWIFT. Good idea, bad idea?
It's basically already happened. There's almost very few Western companies want to do business anymore with Russia. So it sort of seems odd that we haven't done, the full removal. All of this is really about still keeping those European Union purchases of energy flowing.
And last question real quickly, these sanctions on oligarchs, more sanctions were hit at the end of last week. Are those sanctions real? Do they have a real impact, or are they really for show?
They certainly have an impact. Russian billionaires have lost $80 billion in wealth in the last few days from these sanctions. We've seen a couple of those super yachts that have been seized. But the reality is, rich people, these billionaires, most of their money is not sitting in bank accounts and saying, I am a Russian billionaire. They're hidden in bank accounts that are anonymous trusts, including in parts of the United States. States like South Dakota have laws that make it very easy to hide money in blind trusts and anonymous trusts. So it's going to be difficult to shut it all off.
Heather Long of the Washington Post, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show. Next, the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States joins me live as battles rage across her country.